Flosstube. Happy fall. It's snowing today in the middle of October because mid-autumn in Utah is also first winter in Utah. We have like 3 or 4 winters. There's first winter, there's real winter, there's like late winter, and then early spring is last winter, or sometimes second to last winter, and early summer is last winter. Utah likes to snow. Anyway, since the last time I saw you, or you saw me because all I see is a camera, I have done a lot of stitching, and I went to a retreat, and we've got some family news that is not so happy, and it's been a busy couple of weeks. Or, yeah, that's about how long it's been. 2.5-ish weeks, I think. Anyway, I hope that I'm centered in the camera. I didn't check this time, and I usually do. You get what you get. When I'm done, I'm going to watch over my video again, and if you can't see things properly, I'll just like insert pictures. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, I'm not necessarily going to go in chronological order of when I worked on things, because I've bounced around a lot and done some things, like I worked on it earlier and then later, and anyway, I'll just show what I've worked on. One of the first things that I worked on after my last video was roses on white chair. This is my dimensions kit that I'm working on, and yes, if I'm remembering correctly, you can't even see the part that I worked on, barely. There's some stitches down here. They're half stitches, and they pretty much match the color of the fabric, so they're really hard to see. It's just background stitching, and when the piece is finished, it will just, you know, add to the overall look of the piece. But for right now, and while I'm stitching it, it's just like, it's really hard to see. But anyway, so that was that. I am on my toddler's bed again today. That's just how it worked out. Okay, another piece that I worked on briefly was Medieval Motives, and this is a piece that is designed by me. And I did not a whole lot of stitching up in here, just this top border. There is a deceptively large amount of stitches in the border, or it just takes me a ridiculous amount of time to stitch them. Anyway, but I'm halfway done with that top border now, so progress is progress. So again, that's Medieval Motives, one of my Ivy House Crafter designs that's available in my Etsy shop. Okay, now these are all things that I worked on before the retreat, and I'll get to my retreat projects in a little bit. Okay, I picked up and worked on Arches National Park, which is a tiny full coverage piece. Like, here's my hand. My hand covers my hand covers it. It's like 3.5, 4 inches or something. And there's a little eyelash on it or something. Very small, full coverage piece, and I just filled in some more of this brown. This is one that I converted from a picture, and when I went through and was kind of changing the colors to brighten it up and make it more true to life, I didn't realize that I had used the same color to replace 2 different colors, and so it's 2 different symbols, and so I filled in all of this one symbol, and then I chose another symbol, and it happened to be exactly the same color. So I'm going in and filling in the same color, but the other symbol for that color, which is irritating. But it is looking really cool. and I'm always struck by how bright the sky is every time I pull this one out. I don't have a picture printed of what it will look like, but it's an arch from Utah Arches National Park. So, okay. Before the retreat, I had a finish. I was doing the Tired Trio Sal. Stitch the Stash had started it, was it October 1st or... I don't remember the day that it started, but this is the fastest I've ever completed any sal. Here is my finish for Tired Trio. And it's just super cute. I love sloths. My daughter loves sloths, Audrey. She loves it when I pull this out, and she just like, oh, they're sloths, they're so cute. So this was, this is Tired Trio by Plum Street Samplers, and I stitched it on 28 count fabric that I dyed. You probably won't be able to see all the modeling. I'm always disappointed when I go back and watch my videos, and when I show fabric or things that have color, it doesn't show up the way it's supposed to, but it's just kind of like a purplish brownish color. Anyway, Tired Trio. Okay, and that brings us to the things that I worked on during the retreat, which I will talk about in more detail later. Not a huge amount of detail because I'm not good at recalling like everything and sharing it perfectly, but there's lots of recap videos, so anyone who's interested in just learning everything you possibly can about the Stitch West retreat, just search for Stitch West recap videos and you'll get the basic gist. There was one project that I worked on mainly, almost monogamously and very consistently throughout the entire 2.5 days of the retreat, and I'll show that last. There were 2 other projects. One I pulled out on Friday and worked on briefly, and then one on Saturday and worked on that one briefly. I don't even remember which day was which. So one of them I worked on American Sampler by Plum Street Samplers. And this is also one that I worked on a little bit before the retreat, so there's more than just the retreat's worth of progress. So anyway, here's what it looks like now. Before the retreat, I put in the couple, the man and the woman, and some grass along the bottom. And I think I also filled in a little bit more of this brickwork in here. And I was, I made sure that I had lots of fill-in to do because I knew that I was bringing this to the retreat. And all that I did on the retreat was put in like one strand right. It does not want to show. Right in here. Just a little bit on the roof. I put in one strand in there and then got back to the other piece that I was working on obsessively. So that was American Sampler by Plum Street Samplers. The other piece that I worked on a little bit at the retreat, just trying to get some of these creases out of the fabric, was the Cat Sampler by Heartstring Samplery. And this is another one that I worked on a little bit before the retreat and then a little bit at the retreat. So here's where it's at. And before the retreat, I filled in the door and the bushes by the door, and I'm pretty sure that I put in my initials and the birds there since the last time I filmed, and the little cat by the bush and the word home. So that was all before the retreat. And at the retreat I filled in right in here. I think I put in 2 or 3 strands before going back to my other project, my obsession project. So minimal but nice progress on the Cat Sampler. Okay, I don't know if this one is going to show up because it's rather large and requires a little bit of background information. I have been watching on various Flosstubers and Pinterest as people have made progress on their Ink Circle's Mysterious Adventure project, and I decided that it highly appealed to me, and so I got it. And so I made the purchase, and then it took several days before I got the welcome packet and information on how to get the patterns, the loci? I'm not sure. But each clue or piece of the pattern is called a locus, and you use D&D dice and sometimes flipping a coin to determine what your finished piece will look like. That's the most basic. It's a choose your own adventure cross stitch along. And so the first locus is the border, and then the second was coastline. Yeah. Anyway, so border, coastline, and then locus number 5 is the title plate for your map, and then number 6, no, I skipped 4. 4 is the title plate, 5 is the compass rose, and then 6, which is supposed to come out, it was supposed to come out a couple days ago, but she just moved and has to get everything ready, so as far as I know it hasn't come out yet, but it's the motifs for the water, and then 7 is the motifs for the land. I think I've got it straight. And even if not, it's not all that important for me to express it exactly to you. What is important is showing the project. Hello. I'm going to lean back and hopefully it will capture the whole thing. This is what I have so far. And then bring it in for... And again, if that didn't show up, I'll take a picture and put it in. I am using a variegated, a silk. This is a Classic Colorworks Belle Soie. Miss Green Jeans for the border. And then I'm also using Belle Soie for the red stripes in the scale part of the border, because I had these colors. I was originally going to use them for my Saxon band samplers, but then I decided I wanted to use only DMC so that I will be able to wash it when it's done, because it's so big and the fabric is so white. Anyway, so that freed up my Belle Soies for use in this. So yeah, I rolled for the leaf border and my scale size is 4. And I was going to fill in around the leaves with like a pale yellow or something, but as I stitched them, I realized that I just love the way they look just on their own. And then you use the dice to basically tell you exactly where to go as you stitch your coastline. I charted it all out on my WinStitch program on my computer beforehand, because I wanted to make sure that I liked the way it looked before stitching it. Anyway, and I put in a river and a lake there, and I don't have it on here yet, but I have charted the title plate. The title of my map is going to be Drakos Gir, which is Greek for dragon land, and I even charted out like all the Greek letters and stuff, so yeah. I was telling the story of how long it took me to get this started. So I ordered the pattern and took a few days before I got the pattern, and then I was able to read through it and find out how big of a piece of fabric I wanted and order that from 123 Stitch. And so basically it took at least a week before between me deciding I wanted this pattern and actually getting to start it. I went and picked up the fabric, which is vintage smoky white, 32 count. So I picked it up on my way to the retreat on Thursday, and And so even though I brought with me to the retreat several pieces that I had set aside and you know, had lots of fill in to do, I had brought several pieces, but like I said, I worked on this for pretty much the whole time, because I had a whole week to obsess about it before I even got to start stitching on it. So that was my adventure, and that's my mysterious adventure project. Okay, after the retreat, I have stitched on the map piece since the retreat, just more in the border mostly. And then I also pulled out Merry and Bright by Cottage Garden Samplings. What I had before was just the word Merry and this sled and the little green stars. And so the day that I worked on this, I put in some holly berries and some of the vine and outlined or started outlining a couple leaves. This is 36 count wren, and again, I don't know if it's going to show up properly on the camera because for some reason it just doesn't always show up, but it's really pretty. It's kind of a rich but faded brownish color, and I think it suits it so well. Okay, a little bit of the family news update thing to sort of explain my last piece that I've worked on since my last video. Those who have watched me for at least a few months know that 3 months ago I lost my aunt to stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, and this past week we just learned that my grandma, who is my aunt's mom, so my dad's mom, my dad and that aunt were brother and sister. Anyway, my grandmother has been diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic cancer, and it's all through her lungs and her liver and her bones. They don't know if it's a return of the breast cancer that she had years ago or if it's a new cancer, but essentially it has metastasized and is not going to be healed. So just like when I learned that my aunt was going through this a couple years ago, at that point I designed and stitched for her a special piece that was a song that she used to sing with her husband. So when I learned this about my grandma, I designed and stitched, and the whole process took me like 4 days, a piece that is in honor of my grandma and kind of my grandma and grandpa together and our whole family, because this is our family's song and it's because of grandma and grandpa that it's our song. And anyway, this is what I designed. We'll travel along singing our song side by side. I almost want to keep this up here so I don't cry on camera. Just details about the piece, some backstitched music. Well, the staff and the notes are backstitched, and then, you know, just a stitch for each note. Hello, Matthew. How did I get in your room? I opened the door and I walked in, and then I closed the door.
I want to get out my room.
He wants me out of his room. Sorry, buddy, not right now. Okay, toddler has been taken downstairs. And perhaps next time I'll ask his permission before I use his room. Anyway, so I put in the music because music is extremely important to like all of my family. And I guess he's not downstairs. They just pulled him away from the door. Anyway, birds, because birds and music go together and I love birds. Anyway, I already bought a frame for this. It's going to fit in a 8.5 by 11 frame. And it's just a simple black frame, but it will look really pretty. I just need to lace it up and put it in. Okay, Stitch West recap. October 17th through the 19th was the Stitch West retreat, which was put on by Deb and Kef of Snug Harbor Crafts. And it was the first time I ever went to a retreat, and it was amazing and incredible and wonderful and made my back hurt a lot. Just a note, if you are used to sitting in a very comfortable recliner with your feet up and leaning back to do your cross stitching and are not used to sitting in an upright chair, no matter how soft that chair is, it's upright and it's firm, then sitting in an upright chair at a table for 2.5 days straight is painful, and I survived by taking ibuprofen and acetaminophen and naproxen sodium and all those lovely painkillers that numbed the pain enough for me to be able to continue stitching. Anyway, beyond, besides that, it was wonderful. I know that a lot of people went around and made sure to introduce themselves to everybody and chat with people they hadn't met before and just, really spread themselves around and get to know people. I'm not that person. I appreciated it when other people came to our table and chatted, and I enjoyed getting to know the ladies at my table. Let me list them. Okay, there was Sarah Lusk and Sarah King and her daughter Izzy and her mother Carrie Fisher, and there was Laura and Cheryl and Julie and Misty, and it was a wonderful table, and we were kind of in the corner and I faced towards the door, so everybody around me was like not in my immediate vision unless I chose to turn. So having some social anxiety issues and just general anxiety issues, that was a setup that worked really well for me, to where I could focus on just my little group, and if I chose, I could engage with a greater amount of people, but it worked really well for me. Perhaps next time I will be in a place where I can, talk to more people and be more social, but as it was perfect. It was wonderful. Let's see. I will just go ahead and show all the stuff that I got. I only bought a couple things, but I received lots of fun things. So when we got there, everybody had one of these cute little boxes that Deb made, and they were full of candy, which I took home and shared with my kids, and they were very, very appreciative. But yeah, love that cute little box. Let's see. A couple of the people who were brave enough to go around and introduce themselves to everybody. There was Lorinda and Jordan Johnson. It was a mother and daughter, and they had made everybody these really pretty scissor fobs. And so I used this fob on my scissors for the whole weekend. Very sweet. These are totally my colors. If this was a necklace, I would totally wear it. Anyway, I love the little the scissors on the end. Just darling. And then there was Ray Slade from Ray Stitching Sunshine, and she gave everybody a hedgehog needle minder, and it's got a button on the back to make it easy to pull the needle minder off. Okay, and that was really cute. Oh, I will be right back. I forgot one of the things that got handed around. So this was a little gift bag from Gazelle's Needlework, and that's Renee, Jennifer, and Emily. And in it was this cute little jack-o'-lantern bell and a floss ring, and hopefully this will show up. This is a little haunted house charm, and it's just super cute. So that was in there. Okay. I got to meet and briefly hang out with the Basic Bunch, and that's Jordan and Jamie and Deanne and Janelyn from Basic Stitches. And Jamie gave me this super cute bottle cap needle minder with the Basic Bunch on it. And it just stuck to my hedgehog. Okay. Speaking of Basic Bunch, Jordan of Basic Bunch and of Little Stitch Girl Designs designed 3 exclusive patterns for the retreat, and these are the Stitch West ornaments. There's Santa and his sleigh going over a lighthouse, and the anchor decked out in Christmas lights, and it says Merry Christmas, and the ship's wheel wreath that says Stitch West Retreat 2019. And Deb kitted up the ship's wheel anchor. This is 14 count Ada, which I don't mind using, but I think that I'm going to switch it out for something of a much higher count so that I can have smaller ornaments, because I think on 14 count Ada they end up being about this big-ish. I want them really little and cute. So I'll probably switch it out to a higher count. Let's see. We all got this freebie pattern from Lindy Stitches, and it's called Turtley Lovable, which is so cute. It's a little turtle with a heart balloon. Okay, let's see. I'll do this. Everybody's name tag had a number on it, and Deb and Kev were doing some giveaways, and they would just they would draw a number, and for whoever's number they drew won that particular giveaway. And I got this bag, really nice size project bag. And inside it were 3 patterns. I'm trying to pull them out of the baggie so that they don't have too much glare. This one is called Joy, and it is Santa with a flag and a patriotic little sheep with a tree. Very sweet. I'll put it back in the baggie later. Okay. That was Teresa Kogut. I don't remember if I mentioned that. Teresa Kogut. Okay. Next was Stony Crete Stitching and Soul. And it says, "My stitching feeds my soul." Very sweet. A little bunny watering can. And then this one is super cute. It's Lizzie Kate Birdie Holiday. And it says, "There's no place like home for the holidays," and it is a bunch of birdhouses. There they are. Birdhouses, and super cute. There's a little doodle on here, and it's a birdhouse and some trees, and it says, "Every birdie welcome." So that's cute. So that was the giveaway that I won. All right. I'll do my purchase and then the smalls exchange. From Cricklewood Crossing, who was unable to be there because her mom passed away and she had to go back to Australia. But she had bags and these cute pins and needle minders and all sorts of fun stuff there. And so I purchased one of these little charm pins, and it's a Utah pin, and it's got a covered wagon because pioneers settled here, they traveled here in covered wagons, some lovely trees, a bee because Utah is the beehive state, and Stitch West 2019, and it just makes a fun little jingling sound. And I also purchased one of her project bags, and I'm actually really lucky because one of the ladies at my table had actually picked this up to buy, and then she changed her mind and switched it to something else, and so I got the last of her Jane Austen bags. Here's the back, and oh, I just love it. And it's got this tiny little charm sewn on here. It says made with love. And this one says Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen. And I am going to switch my Works of Jane Austen, Sal. Put it in this bag instead of the one it's in. Because why not? Okay, that brings us to the small exchange. A lot of times when I do things like gift exchanges and stuff, I tend to go for the packages that are not beautifully wrapped because I think it's fun. So I didn't bring the box in, but you know, there were all these beautiful little gift bags on the table when we went up to choose our gift, and there was this big brown cardboard box with a paper on it that says this really is a small, and I went, that's the one for me. And the ladies at my table noticed later that it was a syringe box. It had like, it used to have syringes in it, and there were syringes all over the sides. Anyway, humorous and awesome. I'll share what came with the small because it wasn't just the stitched piece. And then I'll share my small. And this was from Lisa, and I'm just thrilled to death that I got this. So there's this cute little owl, ghost ornament, and my kids are going to go nuts over this. I haven't shown them these things yet because I needed to show it on Flosstube before I can display it. Anyway, and then a dish scrubby, nice and scratchy for scraping off foods. A pumpkin mug with a fun witch's hat, and I didn't even realize this until I got home, but this hat is actually a hair clip. So there we go. Super cute. I hope it doesn't look, I don't care. I love it. And the small that I received from Lisa was We Do Lie Beneath the Grass, one of the blocks of Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. I was so excited. I love the Hawk Run Hollow pieces. Cheryl at our table was actually working on Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow and stitching it on like 30-something count, and it was huge. Anyway, so I was really excited to realize I have a Hawk Run Hollow block. Basically she had stitched this and decided she didn't like it on the fabric, or she didn't like stitching with the fabric or something, and so she decided to do a different fabric for her Hawk Run Hollow piece, and wasn't really sure what to do with this, and then decided that she was just going to make it into its own piece, and then gifted it to me, and I'm so excited. Anyway, it's got this little skull topper thing, and it opens on the back so it can be displayed. And the fabric on the back, I don't know if you'll be able to see it really well, but it's black with like these kind of goldish light brown flowers. Anyway, so that was my small piece, and I was so thrilled. Anyway, let's see. I don't know if I have anything that I can say that would really adequately describe what it was like to be at a retreat. So I think I'll just stick with saying it was perfect, and I enjoyed myself so much, and I can't wait to go to another retreat someday. It was nice having it here in Utah. It was only about 20 minutes away. Oh, that's something that I can talk about. It was only 20 minutes away, but 2 of the nights that I drove home, so I didn't stay at the hotel, I came back home every evening and then went back in the morning. So 2 of the nights that I went home, it was raining really hard, and it's really hard to see in the rain, in the dark, on the freeway, going really fast. So that was kind of stressful. And then one of the mornings, I think it was Friday morning, we have a really old-ish car, and it doesn't do everything that it's supposed to do. So it was wet that morning, and so I go out and, you know, limited visibility in the windows, and so I'm at this stop sign, and I'm trying to look out the windows to see if it's safe to turn into the main street, but I can't see out the windows. So I rolled them down, and that was a big risk because the driver's side window, once it's rolled down, it has a hard time going back up. It sticks really badly. But usually, you know, you keep trying, keep pushing the button back and forth, and it will eventually work its way up. And it didn't. I had to drive the whole 20 minutes, and it was really, really cold, and, you know, this super freezing cold wind blasting in on me through this driver's side window that just would not shut for the whole drive there. And like I'm sitting there working the button the whole way there, just hoping and praying and desperately just wishing, please just close this window. I don't think I'll survive another 5 minutes. Anyway, so I got to the what was it called? Anyway, the hotel, and I had to just sit there in the parking lot. I can't just leave my car there with the window wide open. I mean, you don't do that. Even in Utah, people like to steal cars sometimes. So I had to just sit there in the parking lot. You know, I tried shutting the car off and turning back on again, and then finally the window inched its way up and closed, and I was able to go in and stitch and share my funny adventure. It was nice to save money by not staying at the hotel, but I would have saved a lot of stress, and my fingers wouldn't have gotten so cold, and it would have been a lot easier if I had just paid and stayed at the hotel. But anyway, so that was a fun adventure. Yeah, it was a wonderful retreat, and I'm so glad that I went, and I got to meet wonderful people. I didn't mention, I met Kara of Case Cross Stitch, and she was knitting away merrily on her lovely purple shawl, because that's what she does. I met Sharon, who is one of my subscribers and commenters, and it took me a while to recognize her. She mentioned something to me about one of the pieces that I had brought to the brag table, and then I went, you know, I was like, yep, that's mine, and sat back down at my table, and I was like, I know her. Oh! So then I had to go back and say, hi, I know you now! Hi! So hi, Sharon. And Leslie LaFleur was there with all of her fabrics. Brenda, Handwork Maniac, was there, and just so many wonderful people. It was nice. It was just really nice to stitch for 3 days, and yeah, I have nothing else to say. That's it. It was nice. I'm gonna end it there. I have a lot of checking on my video to do to make sure that it looks okay, and pictures possibly to take, and splicing things together. Anyway, have a wonderful week and stitch to your heart's content. And if you ever have the chance and the means to get to a retreat, do it. It's wonderful. And bring a massager for your back. Happy stitching, everyone. Bye.